Today we're going to be going over some cards that I would recommend to keep an eye out for the upcoming Pokemon TCG season. We're going to be looking at cards that I would recommend in investing both in upcoming sets and recent sets to help you better prepare for the change in the metagame. Stay tuned, guys. So before we begin, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, especially if you want to see me talk about what cards or sets you should invest in, whether you're playing One Piece, Pokemon, or even Vice Schwartz. I will gladly talk about those and give you guys some ideas on how to build those decks. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about some of the cards that I've noticed while scanning both on the Japan side as well as looking back at previous sets. Cards that I feel like should be that you should pick up or at least keep an eye out for moving forward, and cards that I feel like maybe worth just investing, especially on the lower end side if you're trying to get the lower end rarities, and then later on potentially if you like those cards, blinging them out if you are that kind of person. So without further ado, we're going to go over some of my card choices for the Pokemon TCG. So I'm using Limitless because it has the database right now existing for both Japanese and English, and some of the cards that I have on this list are cards that either are going to be appearing in the upcoming Mega Evolution set or the following set, and just want to bring it to your guys' attention so that way you guys are prepared for whether it be saving up money to invest into these sets or just overall like things to keep in mind when scanning into the set in those sets. So we're going to start off with the first card that came to my mind, which was Mega Kangaskhan EX. So the reason why I'm thinking Mega Kangaskhan, you should pick up at least 4 copies of this, is the ability Errand Draw, allowing you to draw 2 when it's in the active spot. And for decks that like that want to take advantage of having like a generic Mega Pokemon that can hit for big damage, and it's a basic with 300 HP. So I feel like it's a deck that you could slot into pretty much almost any deck, and it's almost kind of like not Urshifu, Blood Moon Ursaluna, because it does swing for a lot of damage. And if you are playing a deck that has already good energy ramping or energy acceleration, it is a card that I would consider maybe putting it in your like competitive playset, in your competitive playset collection, so that way in case the meta does favor this card, you have it on hand. So and it does have the attack for 3 colorless energy. You get to flip a coin until you flip tails, and it does 50 more damage for each heads. So potentially you're able to knock out most Mega EXs and even Stage 2 EXs. And it's a 3 energy in most modern decks is pretty easy to get through by turn 2 if you know what you're doing with the deck. And it's an interesting tech to consider if you're trying to find a Mega based attacker that is a generic one. So obviously the star, one of the stars of the Mega Evolution set is the Mega Lucario. It does have the ability or jab, which allows you to attach 3 fighting energy from the discard pile to your bench in any way, and it does 130. And then you have access to Mega Brave for 2 fighting energy, 270. So it's a good go-to attacker, and I'm actually considering putting together a Mega Lucario deck in the near future. This is a deck that I'm thinking about adding on to my playtest rotation as a Pokemon player, because I really like, 1, because I like Lucario, and 2, I do see some interesting ways to play this deck. And I'm going to keep it a little secret because I am still kind of researching this deck before I can even give you a solid idea of how I would approach this deck. Another one, this is from Destined Rivals, and I think you should pick this up if you haven't, is basically the Cynthia's Garchomp line. Because of the advent of Mega Brave, fighting Pokemon get a lot of support, especially with the idea of the premium power pro, which allows your fighting Pokemon to do an additional 30 to your opponent's active Pokemon. So this allows you, so we basically go back to those power tablets, or even I forget the electric version during team up, and this makes fighting decks a lot more aggressive and a lot more likely to take out one-hit KOs. So this is probably going to be a go-to, especially because in my opinion the two fighting decks are going to be pretty much the metagame. Like in the meta is going to be the Lucario and the Cynthia, because of you have access to things like the premium power pro. Another card, if you haven't already picked it up, and it's another Destined Rivals card, but I'm pretty sure most of you guys did, but if you're trying to get into the game, I would suggest picking up the Marnie's deck. The Marnie's Grimmsnarl is just a really strong deck overall right now, and then especially when we get the Mega Gengar deck, which has Mega Gengar with the ability, whenever your dark Pokemon get knocked out, your opponent takes one fewer prize, so it turns your Marnie's Grimmsnarl into already a single prizer. So it is something that you should consider picking up, because I know a lot of dark decks, including the Zoroark, this is something I'm going to be picking up and testing into Zoroark, the Mega Gengar, because it turns those decks into one prizer attackers, and even the Gengar itself isn't a slouch to with 2 dark energy. You get to do 230 and then move one of that energies into your bench, and if you have 2 of those Mega Gengars on stage, the Mega Gengar basically becomes a 2 prize attacker. So like just denying your opponent an additional prize helps you overall like sustain yourself as a deck. And I feel like right now Mega Evolution seems like to be the era of fighting in dark, at least for this first block. It will be the block of fighting dark, so as well as Psychic, because Gardevoir just gets more support obviously. And so I do think you should, like, since Mega Gengar is definitely not in this one, it's going to be in I think the Phantasmal Flame set. No, most definitely the Phantasmal Flame set. You should keep an eye on it and start investing into your dark, like getting into like good dark EX Pokemon if you're trying to build, whether it be Zoroark or the Marnie's Grimmsnarl. Another card that you should invest in, and this is just because it's a no-brainer, especially when Gardevoir gets rotated out, is Jellicent EX, because I can see this going into the same area that Seismitoad was during its time, like kind of item locking. And then 270 is nothing to slouch at, especially if you're denying your opponent the ability to play tools and items while it's in the active. And with support like now Psychic Pokemon will get a Psychic patch, Psychic Pokemon are also going to be kind of like a huge threat, and I think one of the easiest Psychic Pokemon to invest in is the Jellicent EX, as well as the Meloetta EX and I think they're both in the same set, I think. I don't know. So the Jellicent's from White Flare and the Meloetta EX is from Black Bolt. I recommend getting both of those if you haven't. If you've already been cracking open packs, because most of you guys are, save at least, I would say 2 copies of the Meloetta and 4 copies of the Jellicent line, for basically 4 of each, just so you can have access to it post rotation and you get to kind of experiment with Psychic control decks, because I feel like that's what's going to be happening post rotation. Is Psychic might be the next control deck, and there's a lot of it's kind of already gesturing that the deck is going to be a very damage counter heavy, that it might lean towards the damage counter plan, or even just straight up going back to the energy acceleration, since when Gardevoir rotates out, you'll have another form of energy acceleration in the form of Wonder Patch. Obviously, Genesect EX if you're playing my least favorite deck, Goldengo. But if you're also playing other metal-based decks, this is, I think, something you should pick up and just hold on to until there's a better metal deck coming around. Because being able to have just access, because I do see like possibly some tomfoolery or fuckery with either they might do a metal version of Mega Lucario in the future, or even like a Mega Aggron deck. There's so many like Mega Evolution Steel type Pokemon that they could draw from, and if my assumptions, or at least my predictions, are correct, after Legends ZA, when we get into Gen 10, we might either, if we don't get a Unova remake, we might see Alola coming resurging back, and one of the most iconic metal Pokemon, like Steel Pokemon, is like Solgaleo and Duskmane Necrozma. So having this Genesect available for yourself is just helpful, and I'm just thinking about long term, because once rotation goes on, it's going to be H and on, and we're probably going to see J pretty soon, because we're in the I block right now, and I'm assuming J is going to probably come around very soon. Let me just double check if the megas are already J. Nope, not yet. So we might start getting into J very shortly, so I would start to like just think about it long term. So another one, and this is from the Mega Evolution set, which is going to be the Lunatone, which has the ability Luna Cycle, where you get to discard a basic fighting energy and then just draw three cards. Even though you can only do it one time per turn, it's still a good 3 or 4 of in a deck, just so in case it does get knocked out, you have access to cycle through it again. I think Japan plays it at around 2 or 3. I'm not sure, but I would still pick up a playset since it's a rare, and it's just a really good fighting type support Pokemon. I know some people might mention the Makuhita and Hariyama line, since it does give you free gusting, but it's something I would recommend that as kind of an honorable mention. I'll look it up right now in Limitless. Let me see if I can get access to it. I have to use the any format. Wait 1 sec. Apply, and then we gotta search again. Okay. So quickly, just as an honorable mention, where is it? Right here. The Hariyama line, which has the free gusting. I would still pick it up as an honorable mention. I'll pick it up myself, but I probably might not run it in my deck, because I am still kind of tinkering out with other ratios, and I'm experimenting with other fighting Pokemon support, or other just support Pokemon in general. So that's something you could invest in. Another one obviously is the Yveltal, which has basically, it's a dark Pokemon with free retreat. So if you're playing a dark deck, it's a no-brainer, and it does have basically I forget what's the corner ability, but in clutch. So you get to basically prevent your opponent's Pokemon from retreating, and then you can retreat because it's a free retreat dark Pokemon. And if you compare it with the Mega Gengar, it's a 0 prize attacker, so it's something that you should pick up as at least as a 4 of, in my opinion. Obviously, if you haven't yet picked up Shaman, you should pick it up. And same thing, once we get the Mega Evolution set, I'm pretty sure that it's been confirmed that the Psyduck is like slotted to be in here. You should easily invest into 1 to 4 copies of this. I would just get a playset, just so in case the meta shifts and you need to add in more than 1 copy of that Psyduck, because there might be, like, as the metagame evolves, there might be answers to this ability, and having it consistently on board is really good, especially since it prevents Dusknoir from like just easily like demolishing your board state. And then this is just a fun one that I think should be like looked at, is the Kyogre, since you get to use the Riptide attack, which does 20 energy for each water energy in the discard pile. then you have to shuffle those cards back. So like I could see like a deck where you get to dump like 10 plus water energy, kind of like in the Cerulege strategy, and then you just swing in with a single prize attacking Kyogre every turn. And if you properly build your deck to have consistent supply of discard outlets, you can cycle through and get like the 10 plus energy for a Kyogre to be a viable main attacker. I'm kind of curious, like just from looking at this Kyogre, like what they might do for water Pokemon moving forward, because I know I know that we haven't seen a good water deck since Chien-Pao, and like it or not, Chien-Pao might, I'm not sure if it is getting, let me see what regulation Chien-Pao is again. The Chien-Pao EX, I think it gets rotated out too. Yep. So Chien-Pao will get rotated out next year, but we might get another like water attacker that might be something to consider. So I'm just saying, like, tossing an idea out. If you pull these, hold on to them, and especially if they release later an illustration rare, hold on to those. And it's the same thing with I would say Cresselia and Mega Diancie as a sidebar, something that you could consider like holding on to. And then obviously the Last Destined Rivals card, if you haven't gotten it, you should have like a crap ton of this. Ethan's Pichu is like it's just a fun Pokemon I've seen from time to time as people play it as a kind of answer to Badoo, since it does 30 damage and then you get to draw a card. So if you haven't, just invest in the baby Pokemon, whether it be Badoo, the Pichu, and the Cleffa if you haven't had it yet. And then for supporters, I would consider obviously investing is Hilda, because Hilda can search your Mega Evolutions as well as it has the luxury of also searching any energy card. So it can be special energy or even regular energy. So it should be like a 2 or 3 of in your deck if you're playing a deck that has basically either stage, especially if your deck is running stage 1 evolutions like Mega Lucario. So that is something I would consider. If you haven't gotten your copies yet, just pick up 4. It will save you a headache. And if you're like me, like who likes SIRs, I might actually get 2 more SIR Hildas just so I can have it on lock. Acerola, I think it's Acerola's Mischief is something that you should definitely get your hands on 4 copies of it. I'm thinking about getting the SIR/full art version of the Acerola's Mischief, just because that ability is very useful. Like you get to, if your opponent has 2 or fewer prizes remaining, you essentially get to protect one of your Pokemon in play. But the caveat is if they have the boss's order, it's pretty much not really worth it. But it's a nice card to collect, especially the full art and SIR, just for a collection purpose. But definitely what I would recommend picking up, and I would say people who don't pick it up are pretty kind of like dumb, is the Lily's Determination. I'm planning on, depending on how the price is, picking up SIRs of this, because it is going to be the replacement for Iono, obviously. I want this because I like Lily. Lily is one of my favorite characters in the Sun and Moon era, and I'm hoping to either get full arts or SIRs of this card because I just love Lily. She's such a cute character, and her story, like playing both the Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, she's pretty much, and even in the anime, her story is just so like real, like enjoyable to see her story arc grow. So obviously you should pick this up for both collecting and permanent and competitive play. Wally's Compassion, I would pick this up if you're building a mega evolution focus deck, because healing all damage, especially if your Pokemon only requires 1 or 2 energy to pop off is really useful, and it doesn't discard it. You get to add it back to your hand, especially with Mega Lucario. If you're just using it as the one energy looping it, you get to keep that sucker on the board like for a long time. And it's with the same logic, I would also pick up Fennels if you haven't had it, because it's a generic like board wipe heal. So with 40 HP, I know there's I think the picnic basket also does something very similar, but this is good on a supporter and it does it for 40. So I would consider picking up some copies if you haven't yet. Obviously, to keep an eye out in the future, I think we do get it in Mega Evolution. If you haven't, pick up the Wonder Patch, because once Gardevoir rotates out, Mega Gardevoir is probably going to be the next deck, and the Wonder Patch just makes that deck pretty much helps make up for that lack of energy acceleration. Not to mention, if they do like bring back some kind of mechanic that shuffles back like any cards as because I'm predicting we might go back to a similar situation where Sun and Moon, where there's going to be a Pokemon that will hit for cards in your own discard pile or in your opponent's discard pile. So they're probably going to release support to shuffle things back into the deck. And if they do release support that is basically shuffling non-energy and non-Pokemon, like just generic shuffle backs, you might want to consider like building. This is just my harebrained again. There's no guarantee that they'll have a shuffle back mechanic back in the game, but who knows? Pokemon does weird things. They do weird ways of bringing back old ideas for old archetypes. Another thing, obviously, you gotta get the Premium Power Pro if you're gonna build a fighting deck. I'm gonna be getting that for my Mega Lucario deck. I also recommend the Fighting Gong, because you're gonna need that. It's basically gonna be an Ethan's Adventure for fighting decks, and anything that improves consistency, whether it be searching out energy, searching out Pokemon, is a good thing. It's a really good resource. Same thing with the Mega Signal. You got to get 4 of all of those items. Now we get to kind of the territory of stadiums. Mystery Garden, if you're playing Psychic, no brainer. You need this card. You need this card. It is a good draw engine card for you, and it's basically Morty's Conviction in a nutshell. And then obviously we remember Forest of Giant Plants. I remember that when I first got into the TCG in the Sun and Moon era. We now get a grass version that is like a much more mellowed down version, which is Forest of Vitality. Pick this up, because there will come a time, I don't know when, but there will be a grass deck that will abuse this stadium, and it may actually, like, you will regret not at least getting 4 copies of this. I know it's an uncommon, but just have it, because this might shoot up if the market, like if the metagame has a grass Pokemon that is a stage 2 that is viable. I'm not talking about Mega Venusaur. I mean like something better than that is energy efficient. You're gonna regret not having this card. So pick that up if you haven't, and also pick up, I think I forget what is it the bug? Yep, the bug catching set. Pick this up, because depending on the situation, and this is where I'm telling you just to be proactive, grass decks might just get a resurgent. We already know that Ogerpon is the best grass Pokemon right now. There might be one that eclipses it moving forward, so just be prepared. And then for all you dark players like myself, who like Zoroark, the Marnie's Grimmsnarl, or even the Mega Gengar deck, pick up the dangerous ruins. Being able to just force your opponents, since then most of the time, if you're going against a non-dark deck, you slap this sucker down early game, turn 1. Your opponent now when they bench basic non-dark Pokemon, instant 2 damage counters on each of them, which means if they try to fling it back at you in Monkey Door, you can fling it back, and it helps soften that target. Very easy for you to either take early knockouts or make knocking it out very quick, easy. So it's a card that I would recommend just picking up. It may not be viable right now, but it's something to consider. So overall, this is kind of like my thoughts right now moving forward for Pokemon players. Please make sure that you prepare. Preparation is key. Later on, I am going to be doing kind of another video like this where I talk about the collector side of Pokemon, because I want to talk about that too. And because now that I'm opened my own vending business, I want to talk about both the competitive side as well as the collecting side. So I'll do a separate video for that in the future. I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, crack that like button, and I'll catch you guys later. Stay on point, guys. Peace out, YouTube.